Soulful shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just some social shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this be myself, so hear me. Woo! I mean, like, we can pull that clown shit away. This some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah. It's in their bones, the thugs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
Yes, people, we are back. Another Fringe Focus. Big up to everybody who has watched the previous installments of Fringe Focus, taking a look at various different players within the Liverpool squad. Players, I think, Fringe squad players, however you want to kind of call it. And today we're going to be taking a look at Joel Gomez. Make sure you smash a like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you do that for me, people. And yeah, as I always say, man, big up to everybody who has subscribed already. Oh my God, Gomez. This one was I wouldn't even say tricky. It's probably going to potentially sound harsh, but you know what? We'll get into it regardless. Obviously, Joe Gomez, he signed for Liverpool. What was that? Back in, I want to say 2015. I think he signed for Liverpool, like round about then, give or take. Obviously signed when we had Brendan Rodgers. Was like an upcoming kind of defender, obviously at Charlton Athletic, coming through the youth ranks there and everything. Yeah, he like, honestly, when we signed Joe Gomez at that time, and this is when I was first starting out, like to like really start to like watch youngsters like in academies and stuff. He was one of the first few players anyway, that I looked at. I was like, nah, this Joe Gomez guy, like he's decent. You know what I mean? And obviously at the time that's Charlton, innit? So obviously you're looking at it thinking, oh, Charlton, blah, blah, blah. But obviously I knew where Liverpool were at the time as a football club, etc., etc. Anyway, you fast forward to now, and I think when you talk about players not being able to fulfill the kind of potential that you had, or sorry, the expectancy that you had for the player, he's definitely one of them. Now, obviously, we know the main reason why is obviously down to the injuries. Now, this brother has had, when I was looking at it, actually, like, funnily enough, I looked at it and I was like, he hasn't had, would I say, enough injury. Like, it's not like he's had like so many different injuries within a season, if that makes sense. Like, he's having these one injuries that are keeping man out for time. Muscle injury, that's not too long. Had to have ankle surgery after having an ankle injury, Achilles tendon problems, cruciate ligament injury, ankle surgery again, patella tendon problems. Like, makes me a bit cringe a piece. Like, and look how long, you know what I mean? 104 games, 47, 6, 7, 25, 51, 5 and 1 in the last couple of seasons. So maybe you can say it's potentially even calmed down. Maybe you can even say, he's gotten over the worst of the injuries, that he had before. But yeah, like, honestly, and look, as you can see here, look, one injury, 2, 2, 1, 1. Like, he's not having 4 injuries in the same season, and you're like, this just keeps. Then I think that's when and this is why I guess you have to start looking at these things like with a microscope in it, because then this is where players start falling into certain categories of being like injury prone and not injury prone, and what is even injury prone and stuff like that. Like, I don't even know the real like definition, for it. But when you're thinking about it, when you look at it, like, he's been mad unlucky. Like, I will definitely say that, like, Joe Gomez has been mad unlucky since he's been at Liverpool. He's been able, he can play left back, centre back, right back. When he played, I think on his debut against Stoke, was it? He played left back, and I remember thinking he was actually all right in that. You know what I mean? In that left back position last season. He actually played more games at right back actually last season than he did at left back, but full back last season, not really in the centre back area with which I think maybe he potentially saw for himself, when he was coming through, and maybe, and again, I don't know, but maybe that might be the position that he potentially looks at and says, yeah, no, that's, you know what I mean? That's my position. That's the position I want to play. That's the position I want to be in, moving forward. But ultimately, he's been playing, at fullback, and he's done a very good job. Last season, definitely, I will say Joe Gomez did a very, very good job. Played 51 games last season. I think maybe was it like the second most amount of minutes potentially played by an outfield player last season for Liverpool anyway. 32 games in the Premier League. Whoever thought we'd ever see Joe Gomez playing 32 matches in the Premier League, 10 Europa League games? Like these are good numbers, you know what I mean, from Joe. The season before that, the 22-23 season, he only managed 21 games in the Prem, 31 overall. So, he's been working, because look, 31 games in all competitions that he played in the 22-23 season, he added an extra 20 games. And I think that's always been the issue with him, is that he's missing. That's 20 matches that he had to. Obviously, we had injuries and stuff like that. So, of course, context, he was able to fill in, blah, blah, blah. I get all of that. But the fact that he has been available for us to play in 51 matches, that's big for Joe. You know what I'm trying to, that's real big for Joe. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, considering where he was coming from, where man was barely scratching 10 games a season, I think he had 2 seasons where he didn't play 10 games in the whole season in all competitions. That's kind of crazy. When I think about it, let me even take a look right now. So you got the 15-16, 16-17 season. He played 10 matches in all competitions altogether. In 2 seasons, he played 10 football matches. Obviously injuries, and blah, blah, blah. After that, we're looking at 17-18 onwards. We've got 31 matches, 25, 43, 12, 21, 31, 51. It's like up and down with him. More, I wouldn't say more downs, because clearly there's more ups than in terms of how many appearances, but just in terms of, like, when you think about it, this was supposed to be a player that, potential wise, or let me not even say potential wise, expectancy wise, we looked at this guy and said, nah, Joe's got to be the guy. He's going to be, the one, in the heart of our defense. When Liverpool won the Premier League, Joe Gomez alongside, Virgil van Dijk, he played 28 games in the Premier League that season, 43 in all competitions. It was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Joe's like, he's doing his thing, man. Like, with Van Dijk especially, like, I looked at that centre-back partnership and I was like, yeah, nah, you're not getting past these 2 centre-backs. You've got someone who's quick, strong, likes to get in on the tackle, who's going to do a bit more of the grunt work, but you know what I mean? He's semi-calm on the ball anyway. And then obviously you got Virgil van Dijk, who's just Virgil van Dijk. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So obviously you looked at that kind of situation and it was like, okay, this is perfect. Then injury the following season. Obviously that's when we had the madness, with our injury, the whole centre-back situation and blah, blah, blah. And obviously, yeah, it's just been like that for Joe. And this is what I say, he's just been mad unlucky. Obviously, if we're looking at it, for, this season, what do we do with Joe? Obviously, I know people on both sides of the fence on this one. And I feel like I'm in the middle almost. I might be leaning more towards sell, but I feel like I'm kind of in the middle. Obviously, we've heard about the swap deal, with Newcastle potentially for us to get in Anthony Gordon. So this is obviously just a little bit of a snippet. Liverpool agreed to sell Gomez. I need you guys to understand that, like, that first little bit there. Liverpool agreed to sell Gomez to Newcastle for 45 million. Gordon would have joined LFC for 75 million. If you look at the total, it's 30 million difference. So basically, we would have effectively spent 30 million to get Anthony Gordon. Payment terms discussed. Clubs sought medicals during the Euros. So whilst the Euros was going on and we didn't know what was happening and what was popping, forget your feelings. Forget what you and I think, guys. Like, it doesn't matter, because Liverpool Football Club were willing to sell this guy. That tells you everything you need to know. And I think that's been the problem, I think, with Liverpool fans with this whole Joe Gomez thing, is that you're not understanding that the club were willing to let this guy go because he was deemed surplus to requirements and we were able to get a player in. And clearly it's a player that Liverpool really, really want, which is Anthony Gordon. Clearly that's, been very evident. So if that is the case, when I look at it on the face of it, I'm kind of like, I'll be honest, bro. Maybe it is time for you to go. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because let's look at it like this, yeah. We'll go through the whole back line because those are the positions that obviously he can play, right? Left back position. I'm sure we'd probably say he's behind Robbo and Simicas. I'm sure that's probably how people see it. Maybe you might swap Simicas and Gomez, maybe. But I'm gonna say he's third choice centre back, third choice left back. Centre back, Van Dijk, Canate, now looks like Kwanzaa. So he's fourth in the centre back options in terms of just number. Obviously, there's two centre back positions, but just in terms of the number, he's the fourth choice centre back, meaning he's the, if you were to rotate the two centre backs out, he's the rotation guy in. If you want to say it like that, but it's centre back. Do you know what I mean? It's one position, so to speak, in it. So he's the fourth choice in that kind of regard. You've also got Seth Vandenberg there, but I think he's higher than that. Right back, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Connor Bradley, Joe Gomez. Like, I get why people, because people look at this immediately, and the first thing you say is, nah, he's got to stay. This level of versatility, but I fully understand what you guys are saying. I get it. Personally, I don't think you need to have a player like this. I don't. I honestly don't think you do. I think two positions is fine. The fact that he can do three is obviously just one beneficial, obviously, to us, but it's not a necessity. You don't need to have a player who can play left back, centre back, and right back. You don't need it. So, like, I think that's a myth that I've seen dotted around that people keep mentioning. You have to have, no, you don't. You don't have to have anybody in your team who can do that whole thing. You don't necessarily need those kind of things. I'm not saying it is not a benefit to have that. Just need people to understand what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it's not a benefit. It's not a necessity, though. It's not a necessity. It would benefit me to have £1 million. I don't need £1 million, but it would benefit me moving forward if I had £1 million. But guess what? I'd probably be totally fine if you gave me £10,000. Like, it's just one of those kind of things. And I think that's where we are as fans. We're just getting it a little bit like, you have to keep him. No, you don't. You actually don't. At the end of the day, and we've just gone through it, left back is probably the only other position that you look at and think maybe second choice. Maybe if you wanted to, if you really wanted to split hairs, if that's what you would go with. I'm not going to argue, putting him over Simicas. I'm really not going to do that. But if you don't, then he's third choice left back. He's third choice right back. He's fourth choice centre back. Where is the brother going to play if nobody gets injured? Again, he only played those games last season, bearing in mind, because of injuries. Which is where, again, this is what I'm saying. This is where we kind of see him at. He's that kind of guy. Do you think he's realistically want to stay there? Why would he want to do that? That, like, for me, like, I feel like then that's almost being a little bit disrespectful to him if we're looking at it like that. And I don't think Newcastle, by the way, I don't think they're the only club even potentially looking at him. Maybe Liverpool might go back in. I think personally, I'll just get this kind of deal done because I'll just look at it as it says, £30 million that you're going to spend on Gordon. I'm good with it. I don't really rate the left wingers that we've got anyway. So bring in Gordon if you want to bring in. If that's the player that you've identified as the one that you want to get, I don't mind doing a swap deal. I've also heard that potentially Mark Gay might be leaving Crystal Palace. So if that's the case, he can go to Crystal Palace, South London, where he's from, back home potentially. I feel like that would actually be a better move than going to Newcastle anyway. But for the purposes of trying to get this deal done, which I don't think necessarily Liverpool, depending on how Newcastle see it, maybe because if Newcastle are the ones trying to sign, Mark Gay, as an example, I think it's Newcastle. Yeah, I think it's Newcastle obviously trying to sign, Mark Gay. If that's the case, Fairs, then we can get Anthony Gordon. And if that's the case, Fairs, then we can, and then, Joe Gomez can then move to, move to Crystal Palace. I think that might be a three-way kind of deal that we might potentially see. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm really not. I'm not saying he's crap. I'm not saying he's, necessarily past it. I'm generally just kind of looking at this and just thinking to myself, the game time, man. Like you're, if everybody's fit, and again, you are literally banking on people being injured, which in itself is kind of bad, man. But you're not young. You're not like, he's not 21 years age, 21 years of age. Not like in the Tyler Mortons, Biotetiches, and these kind of Fabio Carvalho type of guys where you can say, well, you've got a bit more time on your hands to potentially wait. He's 27 years of age. He's literally 27 years of age. So he might just look at the situation and think, I need to play football now, especially because he's worked his way back into the England squad after being out for so long, kind of thing. And I think he deserved fully to be in that England squad. I've got no qualms about that whatsoever, because he had a really good season. Season before that, he stunk though. I ain't gonna, I'm not gonna dress it up any other way. He stunk, in my personal opinion, anyway. So the fact that he even had this season anyway, in this last season, it surprised me. It really did surprise me. So yeah, I think with Joe Gomez, unfortunately, you have to sell him. You have to sell him, man. I mean, 45 million, I think, is a fantastic deal for Joe Gomez. Considering how much you actually bought him for, how long he's been here for, how long he's been out injured for, how many games you've actually got out of him, since being at Liverpool. About 100 and what? You're looking at about, in all the time he's been here, he's only played 200 games, I think, for Liverpool. I think it works out to be, yeah, roughly about 200 games. No, 200 games, I think that is. 224, I think it is. About 200 odd games. And considering the guy's been here for, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nah, yeah. Sorry, man. You definitely got to go, my bro. You definitely got to go. I know it sounds harsh, and I get it. You want the versatility. Just go out and sign the player that you want. But for me, it's so simple. Like, and we're talking about a football player's career. There's no point having someone like Joe Gomez just sitting around. Again, you are literally banking on the injuries to kick in for a guy who's going to be third choice in basically every position that you're talking about. I feel like we just want to make noise for the sake of making noise. This is the player FC stuff that just kicks into gear. We're just making noise for making noise sake. Guys, trust me, it's time. Joe Gomez, I think 100% I would sell. I'd even sell for less than the 45 million that they're offering. But if that's a fee, then listen, I'll bite your hand off at 45 million. 100%, I'll bite your hand off. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because that is, for me, a fantastic deal, for Joe Gomez. Not even trying to say because I think he's a poor player. I think if he went somewhere else and played games, Crystal Palace, I think, would be perfect. If he went there, bearing in mind he's won all of these trophies. So I'm saying Crystal Palace, just obviously Newcastle, if you can, maybe you can still try and continue. But Crystal Palace for me would just be 27. I don't know if he's got a family or anything like that. I don't really want to pry and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of family, like wife and kids or whatever, if he does, being closer to home, all of that kind of stuff at the age of 27, I get it. Glasner, by the way, I'm not saying Crystal Palace are some dead team. He's not going there at the end of his career, whatever. You can still have a good 3-4 years and potentially move anyway, but if you do really, really well. But it's just more the fact of, I just think it's time. I think I genuinely just believe with Joe Gomez, it's time, man. It's time. But let me know what you think in regards to Joe Gomez. Keep, loan. I don't think that. I think it's either keep or sell with someone like Joe Gomez. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section, people, and I'll catch you on the other side.